Hello. I am excited to read you some stories. I hope this is a way that we can stay in touch and you can get used to seeing Grandma since we're so far away from each other. The stories I'm going to share with you are from a book that was one of my favorites. I don't know if you can see it. It's called Stories That Never Grow Old. It was written back in 1965. And so it was stories that my parents read to me or that I read to myself that I really enjoyed. And most of these stories have a little lesson to them, things that we can learn from the story. So I hope after you've heard me tell the story that you might spend some time talking to your mom or dad about what you learned from these stories. The first story I want to share with you is called The Thank You Man. And you can tell that this story was written long ago. Watch for how you can tell that it's a story that came from many years ago. Mr. Grunch was never friendly to anyone. He never joked or laughed or smiled. He frowned all the time. His name is Mr. Grunch. Sounds like it could be Mr. Grump or Mr. Grinch. This was very hard on his wife and his 3 little boys. And the man he worked for got tired of seeing Mr. Grunch so cross all the time. Then one day, the boss man said, "I think we had better find someone else to take your place, Mr. Grunch. You are so cross that you can't get along with anyone." This made Mr. Grunch more cross than ever. With 3 little boys and a wife to take care of, he had to find a new job right away. The next day, he went to see if he could get a job at the bridge. "Yes, we have a job for you," said the man at the bridge. "We need another man to stand at the gate and take money from the drivers as they go across the bridge." Mr. Grunch frowned. "I will take the job," he said. "There's one thing you must remember," said the man. "You must say thank you as you take the nickels and dimes." I don't think we pay nickels and dimes crossing the bridge anymore. "Thank you," cried Mr. Grunch. "That's silly. People have to pay a dime to cross the bridge. Why should I thank them?" "That's the way we do it," said the man. "If you want the job, you must say thank you to everyone who gives you the money." "Fish feathers," cried Mr. Grunch. "No, don't say fish feathers," answered the man. "Say thank you." The next day, Mr. Grunch started his new job. The first car rolled up and the driver handed him 2 nickels. Mr. Grunch frowned and nearly choked, but he did get out the words, "Thank you." When the driver heard that, he smiled. The next time Mr. Grunch had to say thank you, it still nearly choked him, but he said it, and again the driver smiled. After that, it was not so hard to say thank you, and Mr. Grunch began to look for smiles from the drivers. By lunchtime, he had said thank you 205 times, and by the end of the day, he had said it more than 700 times. Nearly all the 700 drivers had smiled at Mr. Grunch as they handed him their nickels and dimes. He had never seen so many hundreds of smiles in one day. At last, it was time for Mr. Grunch to go home. His wife opened the door. "Thank you," said Mr. Grunch. His little baby son grabbed his leg. "Thank you," said Mr. Grunch. His other 2 boys came and hugged him. "Thank you," said Mr. Grunch again. Mrs. Grunch was so surprised, she just fell into the nearest chair. "Whoopsie!" shouted the boys. and they hugged Mr. Grunch all over again. Mr. Grunch just smiled. My new job is better than any I have ever had, he said to his wife. What do you suppose it could be that makes the difference? And that's the end of the story. I hope you'll take some time and talk about how important it is to say thank you and how happy it can make us feel and how good it makes others around us feel if we remember to say thank you. I love you guys. I'll record you some more stories and send them to you later.